North Korea claims to have tested a new high-tech weapon and says the missile launch was meant as a warning to U.S. ally South Korea. North Korea released these pictures of leader Kim Jong-un overseeing yesterday's launch of 2 short-range ballistic missiles into the sea.
Now, South Korea says the weapons were similar to this Russian-made missile that flies lower and can make in-flight adjustments. Think of that. The launches were the first since President Trump briefly entered North Korea last month during his latest meeting with Kim. CBS News senior foreign affairs correspondent and Face the Nation moderator Margaret Brennan is in Washington, and she joins us now. Margaret, good morning. We should remind people that this region of the world is vitally important to the global economy and global security. 5 nuclear-declared nations already. The U.S. is hoping North Korea will not become number 6. Does this test set back those negotiations?
Well, President Trump is basically saying he's going to overlook these 2 missile tests. They were fired into the Sea of Japan. His national security advisor was in the region, but the president is giving Kim Jong-un a pass because he wants to get that stalled diplomacy going. Both he and Secretary Pompeo publicly dismissed the test last night, saying they're only short range, which that does pose a threat to America's allies, but not here on the U.S. mainland. So it is still worth pointing out, though, as our David Martin has reported, that the Pentagon notes the U.S. had no warning these tests were about to happen, which suggests North Korea's ability to covertly develop weapons is getting better.
Margaret, I remember you were at that failed summit in Vietnam back in the day. Do you think now that the talks have stalled between the 2 countries?
They have stalled, and that's why President Trump took that extraordinary trip to the DMZ and stepped into North Korea last month. This was a play to try to get the talks going again, but no meetings have taken place since that.
Why do you think they've
at
stalled,
the working
Margaret?
level.
Why do you think they've stalled?
Well, North Korea so far doesn't want to give up any part of their program. They continue to develop their weapons. They want the U.S. to pull back sanctions. So far, they haven't gotten what they wanted, and the U.S. hasn't gotten what it wants. But at those presidential levels, they come out all smiles with the hope of negotiations. It's the working level that just is stalled. Secretary Pompeo said last night, in a handful of weeks, he thinks there may be another meeting scheduled, but that would be with someone called the U.S. envoy, Steve Biegun.
So, Margaret, while we're trying to negotiate with North Korea, the United States is also participating in a joint military operation, military drills with South Korea. So what's the geopolitical strategy of the U.S. in the region?
Well, you know this, Vlad. In the region, there are about 30,000 U.S. troops stationed on the peninsula. They practice these drills every year with our ally in order to show readiness. But North Korea continues to think that this is preparation for an invasion. The U.S. presence on the peninsula has been there to offset the threat from North Korea. But as you know, in Asia, the big concern is the growing threat from China. And so there is little appetite for pulling out entirely.
All right, Margaret, the tensions continue there in the region. Thank you very much. Sunday on Face the Nation, Margaret speaks with acting White House Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney. She'll also talk to the vice chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee, that's Democratic Senator Mark Warner, and Democratic presidential candidate Marianne Williamson. That is Sunday here on CBS.